Hello everybody, welcome to episode 20 of Captain of My Shed. It's been a little while. I'm Captain Mikey if you've forgotten, and in this episode we are putting this to good use. A lot of you probably have corded tools like this, particularly drills. They're a little bit old school. You might be using them with great success, and why not? But a lot of people are upgrading to the cordless option. It's far more versatile. They're just as capable as a corded tool, if not more so. And people are throwing these away. Unfortunately, I don't want to fill up landfill with something like this, and it's a perfectly good motor, so I figured let's make something in this episode that puts that motor to good use. If you would have seen my Victorian horse enema pump video, link in the description below if you're wondering what on earth I'm going on about. I made some round stuff without a lathe, so I thought why not actually make a lathe, and this is what I've come up with. It's fully adjustable. We'll go through it towards the end. You'll see it working because I'm going to make a little project on it at the end of the video. But for now, let's get stuck in and show you how I made this. A little bit different this time. I'm going to try narrating over a video, and that'll either work or not. So let me know in the comments below what you reckon. Okay, here we go. Well, I'm going to let the video speak for itself a lot in this particular video, but where there's something of particular importance, I'll chime in. I use the handle that you can see here from the drill itself as my guide for making the clamp that I'm going to make for the lathe that will clamp the drill in place. I got the initial dimensions from that and just transferred them onto the laminated birch ply. Obviously what you want in a lathe is something that's nice and solid, straight, dense, and it has some weight to it to take up any vibration, and Baltic birch plies, particularly when you've laminated it together, is ideal for that. So for this detail here, I've drilled a hole the same diameter as the measurement of the nut from flat face to flat face. And now I'm just using a small chisel to complete the shape so that the nut sits in there really snug, especially once I've glued it in with a bit of resin. I'm adding the base plate to the drill clamp here, using screws and glue again, not just this time to give me some working time while the glue dries, but also as a bit of a mechanical join. I want this to be really nice and strong. There could be quite a bit of pressure going through this join. I will reinforce it later on in the video. You'll see a few corner pieces going in there to support as well. Try and get this as close to 90 degrees as you possibly can between the base plate and the drill clamp. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer you get it, the more parallel your drill is going to spin to the lathe bed. And using a long drill bit, you just see me checking to see how parallel the drill actually is, the axis of the drill actually is to the to what will be the lathe bed. I use this chamfer bit quite a lot just to make things look nice. It's completely aesthetic. It's got nothing to do with the functionality, but it just I don't know, it just exposes a little bit of that edge of the ply and it looks nice. Just laying out the center line here for where the T-track is going to go. That orange bar there you see is a piece of T-track that I had left over from another project. You don't have to use T-track. You can make your own almost T-track style thing using strips of wood. And if you look at a few of the other videos on YouTube where people make their own lathes, that's exactly what they do. But I had T-track handy, so I used it. And it worked nicely. So these are those supporting corners, the reinforcement on the drill clamp that I was talking about. And where you've got a 45-degree angle to clamp up to, obviously it's not easy to do with clamps, they've got nothing to bite onto. So just a little tip is to cut a little 45-degree corner off something else, MDF in this case, and you can clamp it up as you're seeing here, nice and tight, nice and firm. So drill clamp and lathe bed complete. The drill clamp is going to be affixed to the lathe bed now. It'll stay there permanently. And I'm just checking here to make sure I'm as square as I can be so that the axis of the drill runs parallel and square to that lathe bed. Okay, I'll spread the glue there, and obviously once you try and tighten a clamp up on two surfaces that are glued, it slips about all over the place. A little sprinkle of salt, and that stops that from happening. It's actually a really cool little trick that. It doesn't seem to compromise the join at all. And And once you clamp down on it, it doesn't want to swim about like it normally would. So we're now making a sliding base plate for what will become the tailstock, and I've got a little shim there to lift up that sliding bar, just enough so that I can stick on the base plate in and line it up at the same time. Important that this base plate is rock solid once that wing nut is tightened. So if you're looking to make your own lathe, I can recommend, as well as watching this video, you watch a chap called Patrick Sullivan, who makes himself a disappearing lathe that breaks down into 3 parts and you can put in a box on your shelf. A few of his design ideas I've taken for this. The turning knobs that I'm making now, this is the same method that he uses to make turning knobs. And also the drive spur, I've copied his method because I think it's a good solid drive spur. I've changed it a little bit, but it's his design really. So give those videos, or give that video a watch from Patrick Sullivan. It's decent to watch. I'm using the drill in situ here in its clamp to mark center on what will be the tailstock. Very important that the axis of the tailstock, or the datum of the tailstock, lines up perfectly with the drill, or as near as you can possibly get it. That will make it spin nice and smoothly. So that's the whole point of doing it that way. So I'm using a piece of M8 threaded bar as the tailstock spur, and what I'm making here is the handle that will be used to adjust it. It's just being glued in place. Should be sufficient. There's not a great deal of force going through the turning of this. Also, the E6000 glue that I'm using to secure all this in place, it dries absolutely solid, so I shouldn't have a problem. If I do, I can just cut it off and start again with that little bit. So I'm about to stick the tailstock housing onto its base plate now. And again, I'm using a drill bit, the same diameter as the hole in the housing, to line this up perfectly. The center mark we did before was to get the right height, but this is for alignment purposes now. If you do it this way, you'll have a really nicely aligned drill axis with your tailstock. This piece I'm adding here is largely aesthetic. It does add a little bit of strength, but really I just thought it looked nice to do it this way. But you could do it in a much more simple way, similar to how I did on the drill clamp. You could have two corner pieces that support this, but I just thought this looked a bit different, a bit nicer. So I'm making the tool rest here. This is quite a simple part of the process. It consists of a slotted base plate and the tool rest itself. And I'll let the video do the talking. You could make changes to this to suit whatever style you wanted, but yeah, have a watch. This is how I made it. Okay, this is the making of the drive spur, and if I'm perfectly honest, I feel I made a little bit of a meal of this, a little bit overcomplicated for what needs to be, but yeah, just watch it being made. And like I said, if you watch Patrick Sullivan's video, he does a nice drive spur, similar design. So this is kind of good fun. I'm using the lathe to finish making the lathe, which is, I get a kick out of things like that because I'm weird. But yeah, I'm just using it to turn the drive spur nice and round and smooth. And it just goes to show it's working already. What I'm trying to show there is that I've ground the edge of that hacksaw blade into a sharp edge, which I'm now cutting into sections, which will form part of the gripping teeth on the drive spur. Yeah, so those 4 little pieces will be epoxied in place onto the drive spur, and that's the drive spur done. And with that, the lathe is pretty much complete. There's the drill clamp and the rail bed. There's the tailstock and the adjustable tool rest. All right, the benchtop lathe. It's come together a treat. Time to assemble this thing. There's the drive spur. The tool rest. So this can go in and out, obviously up and down and angled around. Nice and simple. The tailstock. So can you see that? Pretty much bang on. Okay, so this is a quick project just at the end of the video to see whether I've just completely wasted my time or not. And I don't think I have. The results you'll see in a minute, I'm really pleased with. So it's well worth doing. It was a good, fun little project to make. And if anyone out there is looking to, I don't know, turn pens or something, but they can't afford a lathe, then get stuck into your offcuts bin, see what you've got. It doesn't have to be birch plywood, anything suitable, anything which is straight and true is decent material for this. And get turning. It's great fun just playing with a small lathe like this. It's cost me next to nothing. And I'm going to be able to make all kinds of things in the workshop now that I couldn't make before. quick tip, if you don't have a tap and die set, you can always cut a groove with a grinder into the end of a piece of threaded material like this, and it's just tapping through some thin soft steel and the wood itself, so it worked a treat. Well, there we go. As you can probably guess, I've made a sort of Matt Esley style marking knife. I'm sure other people have made similar designs before. Yeah, what a load of fun that has been. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. A great little lathe that, and far more simple to build than at first I thought it might be. So it's a great project, probably a weekend project for somebody, and a great use of an old tool if you've got your old corded drills lying about. I haven't been producing as much content recently, just because I've been busy, but that's going to change. I've got various things. I bought a new miter saw. I've got my DeWalt table saw review to do now that I've almost had that a year. I built my own woodworking workbench, which I will show you how that went, and loads of other little ideas. For now, carry on enjoying yourselves, and I'll see you next time.